Okay, so someone sent us this really compelling piece. The title alone grabs you. Modern life is designed to break you.
Yeah, it's definitely provocative.
It really is.
Yeah.
And we want us to do a deep dive because its core idea is pretty intense. It's basically arguing that, the struggles we face today, they're not accidents.
Right. The analysis suggests they're actually baked into the system, like fundamentally part of how things run now, especially hitting younger people hard.
And all driven by this relentless focus on productivity
Yeah.
and profit, of course.
Absolutely. It digs right into those pressures and things so many people feel, right? The economic anxiety, the constant buzz from our phone,
The digital overload, yeah.
the feeling that everything's kind of unstable, and how culture keeps shifting under our feet. The piece argues this isn't just, background noise. It actively undermines our sense of meaning.
And connection, dignity even.
Exactly, those fundamental human needs.
And to hammer that home, it opens with this quote. It's in French, let me see. On vous garde en vie juste assez longtemps pour pomper votre argent et votre énergie vitale.
Which is basically.
Yeah, roughly. You are kept alive just long enough to pump your money and vital energy. It's pretty stark.
It really sets the tone. It's not saying the system is just clumsy or broken by mistake.
No, it's suggesting it's designed this way, intentionally almost. Prioritizing output, prioritizing profit over, us, our well-being.
Which leads right into that idea they call the rigged game.
Okay, let's unpack that, the rigged game. The analysis describes how work, relationships, even how we see ourselves, it's all supposedly shaped to just wear us down.
Yeah, completely exhaust us. Not just tired from work tired, but like a deep systemic kind of drain.
And here's a twist in the analysis I found interesting. It suggests that feeling okay, just sort of numbly getting by, that might actually be the goal.
Right, like if you're not feeling that constant low-level burnout, maybe you've just gotten really good at numbing yourself.
Which is exactly what the system, according to this piece, kind of needs you to do to keep it all going. That baseline okayness.
It's a chilling thought, really.
Definitely. Which flows into what the analysis calls the crisis of work. And, the picture it paints of just getting your foot in the door, it's rough.
Oh, yeah. Entry-level jobs needing advanced degrees, years of experience.
Yeah.
It feels impossible for people starting out.
It really does. And then there's the AI factor they bring in.
Saying the competition isn't just global anymore. It's, what was the word? Inhumane.
Tease you're up against machines. Machines that don't sleep, don't get sick, don't need paychecks.
Exactly. Changes the whole game, fundamentally.
And it's not just finding work. The analysis is also critical of the kind of work many people end up in.
Yeah, often meaningless, right? No security, just this feeling of aimless labor. Grinding away.
Which brings us to another quote they used, also in French. Quel est l'intérêt de payer un loyer ou Netflix si le travail vous vide de votre âme?
What's the point of paying rent or Netflix if your work drains your soul?
Powerful question. Makes you really think about what we get from work beyond, just the money. Does it actually sustain us?
It's a fundamental challenge to the value proposition of modern work, isn't it?
Absolutely. So from work struggles, it moves to this idea of the death of the American dream or, similar dreams of stability elsewhere.
Right, those traditional markers.
Yeah.
Owning a home, starting a family, feeling part of a community.
The analysis argues they're just becoming impossible for so many people.
And it gets specific, doesn't it? It talks about housing costs being astronomical.
Yeah, the cost of raising kids, insane. And just rent eating up huge percentages of income.
It really paints a picture of the foundation crumbling. What used to be maybe a standard path, it's just not there for a lot of folks.
And it's not just the big things. It also mentions how everything's becoming a rental, a subscription.
Oh, yeah. Cars, software, Amazon Subscribe and Save.
It feels like we own less and less. Less long-term security. Is that part of the rigged game, too?
Well, the analysis seems to suggest it fits the pattern.
Yeah.
Constantly paying out, not necessarily building lasting equity or, stability.
Okay, so then the focus shifts to relationships, personal connections, and calls it the crisis in romantic relationships.
And it talks about dating apps, this whole economy of the swipe.
Yeah, where judgment is instant, based on looks, height, a few curated photos, super superficial.
And the analysis argues this has kind of commodified love, turned it into a marketplace.
Leading to detachment, maybe? Less depth, makes sense?
It suggests that it fosters this superficiality, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes it harder to form those really lasting, meaningful connections.
There's another quote here. On a jififié les connexions humaines et du coup, on les a rendues jetables.
We've turned human connections into GIFs, like quick disposable images.
And as a result, we've made them disposable.
Wow, that's quite an image. The ease of digital connection making the connections themselves feel less valuable.
And the result, according to the piece, this so-called epidemic of solitude. Right. We're hyper-connected online, but potentially more lonely than ever in real life.
It highlights that huge gap between scrolling through feeds and actual, human-to-human nourishment.
So beyond romance, the analysis widens the lens to culture generally, says we're living in a culture without meaningful anchors.
Yeah, the idea is that maybe society today doesn't value relationships, community, those deep bonds as much as it used to.
So what does it value instead, according to this?
Well, it points to things like the hustle, nonstop work culture, radical independence, like you have to do it all alone.
And social media as this kind of emotional substitute.
Exactly. Things that the analysis argues ultimately feed distraction more than they feed the soul. They keep us busy, maybe, but not truly connected.
It's like we're pushed towards being busy, self-reliant, seeking likes, but that actually pulls us away from the real stuff we need.
That's the core argument, yeah, which logically leads to the next point, this psychologically burdened generation.
Right. And the key point here is that the stress, the anxiety, the loneliness, it's not just millions of individual failings.
No, the analysis presents them as systemic symptoms, products of this flawed environment we've been discussing.
That's a really important distinction. It suggests many young people blame themselves.
Feel like they're the problem for struggling.
When this analysis reframes it, they're victims of a flawed system. That must feel validating for some readers.
Hugely validating, I'd imagine. And it offers this really encouraging line, too. Tu n'es pas cassé. Tu es juste éveillé.
You are not broken. You are just awake.
Yeah. Like feeling this way is actually a sign you're seeing things clearly. It's a rational response to an irrational system, perhaps.
Yeah.
Not a personal defect.
Which brings us towards the end, the invitation to personal rebellion. It mentions the author doesn't fit the typical success mold.
Which maybe gives their perspective some weight, yeah. They're not just theorizing from an ivory tower.
And the solution they propose isn't try harder. It's not about winning the game.
No, quite the opposite. It's stop trying to win in a game you see as rigged. Opt out.
How? What does that look like, practically?
Well, it's just things like consciously stop comparing yourself to others, especially online. Create your own rules, your own definition of success.
Find your own path, basically. Don't just follow the prescribed one.
Exactly. Forge something individual, authentic.
And that leads to maybe the most powerful quote for action. Peut-être au lieu de jouer plus fort à un jeu truqué, il faut créer un nouveau jeu.
Maybe instead of trying to play harder at a rigged game, you need to create an entirely new game.
That's a call for some serious rethinking. Personal agency on a whole different level.
It really is. A radical reevaluation.
So if we boil this whole analysis down, the central takeaway is start banging your head against a wall. Stop trying to succeed by the rules of a system designed to wear you down.
Pretty much. And instead, channel that energy into creating your own way, your own system, even if just on a personal level.
It's about awareness first, seeing the system for what the author claims it is.
Exactly. Consciousness. And then using that awareness to build something different, something more human, more just, more real for you.
And it leaves us and you, the listener, with this final challenge, this thought to mull over. N'essaie pas de réussir dans un système conçu pour t'écraser. Crée le tien.
Don't try to succeed in a system designed to crush you. Create your own.
Yeah. Definitely something to sit with. How does that resonate? What would creating your own system even look like in your life? Lots to think about.